The courthouse smelled faintly of old wood and polished floors, the kind of place where secrets were dragged into the light and pride was stripped to the bone. People shuffled into their seats, the room buzzing with the low hum of whispered conversations. Today wasn't supposed to be special. Just another hearing, another case, another person waiting to be judged. But the moment Kyra Halden walked in, everything shifted. She didn't walk so much as glide. Wrapped in a designer coat, sunglasses indoors, chin tilted high, as if the entire world existed beneath her heels. The daughter of a real estate mogul, socialite and habitual rule breaker, Kyra lived life believing nothing could touch her. Not fines, not warnings, not consequences. Her attorney trailed behind her, tugging nervously at his tie, whispering for her to at least try to act respectful this time. Kyra didn't even pretend to listen. She stopped halfway down the aisle, blocking people trying to take their seats, and sighed loudly as if the room existed solely to inconvenience her. Removing her sunglasses with a dramatic flourish, she tossed her hair back and scanned the courtroom like she was shopping for something expensive. The murmurs grew quieter. People stared. Kyra enjoyed it. Then the door at the side of the courtroom opened, and suddenly, everything went still. His reputation was iron, fair, firm, and impossible to intimidate. "All rise," the bailiff announced. Everyone stood. Kyra stayed seated for just a little too long. Then, with an exaggerated sigh, she rose as if doing the court a favor. Judge Reyes took his seat, opened a file, and began speaking in a calm, even tone that somehow felt heavier than anger. Case number 42G. Miss Kyra Halden, charged with multiple traffic violations, reckless endangerment, and failure to comply with previous court orders. Kyra rolled her eyes so hard it was a miracle they didn't get stuck. Her lawyer whispered urgently, "Kyra, stop." She ignored him. Judge Reyes continued reading. The courtroom leaned in, sensing tension, sensing something coming, something inevitable. Kyra crossed her arms, tapped her manicured nails on the table, and muttered loudly enough for half the room to hear. "Oh my God, this is such a waste of time." Every head turned. Judge Reyes paused, not long, not dramatically, just enough. Then he lifted his gaze. And for the first time, Kyra's smirk faltered because the judge wasn't angry. He was disappointed. And disappointment from a man like him carried more power than rage ever could. "Miss Halden," he said quietly, "I advise you to adjust your attitude immediately." Kyra smirked at him, a small, mocking, careless smirk that would set off a chain reaction she never saw coming. Because this wasn't just another hearing. This was the moment her world would finally, inevitably, snap. Kyra leaned back in her chair, still wearing that smug expression that had gotten her out of 100 situations before. Money, influence, her father's name. Those were her shields. And she believed, without a shadow of doubt, that they made her untouchable. Judge Reyes opened another document. "This isn't your first time here, Miss Halden. In fact, you've been cited." Kyra cut him off. "For being fabulous. Because honestly, that's all I hear." Her voice dripped with sarcasm. A ripple of disbelief spread through the courtroom. Her lawyer buried his face in his hands. Judge Reyes's expression didn't change. No raised voice, no flash of anger. Instead, he slowly removed his glasses and placed them on the bench. "Miss Halden," he said quietly, "this is your last warning." Kyra laughed. Actually laughed. "Judge, my father practically funds half the city. Let's not pretend you can do anything to me." The entire room froze. Even Kyra's attorney stiffened, knowing she had just crossed a line no amount of money could erase. Judge Reyes folded his hands. I see, he said calmly. So you're under the impression that the law does not apply to you. Kyra shrugged. Honestly, yes. A woman in the audience gasped. Someone whispered, she's finished. Judge Reyes glanced toward the bailiff. Bring in the evidence. 2 officers rolled in a large screen. One plugged in a USB. A video popped up. Dashcam footage from the night Kyra had nearly run over a family in a crosswalk, then sped off without a glance back. Kyra's smirk vanished. The courtroom watched in utter silence as the footage played. Kyra's car swerving, tires screeching, a mother pulling her child out of the way at the last second. Kyra's own voice echoed through the speakers. They should have moved faster. Not my problem. The room recoiled at her words. Her lawyer whispered again, more desperate this time. Kyra, please, stop talking. But Kyra was too stunned to speak. For the first time, the shield of arrogance cracked. Judge Reyes waited until the video ended. This, he said softly, isn't about your father, your money, or your pride. This is about the lives you endangered. He leaned forward. And unlike the people you nearly hit, consequences will catch you. Kyra swallowed hard. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. The courtroom watched the transformation happen in real time. The girl who walked in believing she owned the world now looked suddenly small, fragile, cornered. Judge Reyes gave a single nod. Miss Halden, stand up. Kyra hesitated. The bailiff stepped closer. Her arrogance couldn't save her now. Her name couldn't save her now. And for the first time in her life, Kyra Halden felt fear. Kyra slowly rose to her feet, every movement stiff, as if fear had turned her bones to stone. A moment ago, she had been the loudest voice in the room. Now, she couldn't even lift her chin. Judge Reyes nodded toward the bailiff. Place her at the front. The bailiff gently guided Kyra toward a spot directly in front of the judge's bench. Her heels clicked on the polished floor. A sharp, nervous rhythm echoing in the silent courtroom. Dozens of eyes followed her. Not with admiration. Not with envy, but with the kind of disbelief reserved for people who push their luck far past the edge. Kyra forced a smile, a weak, trembling one, trying to gather the last pieces of her confidence. Judge Reyes, I didn't mean any harm. It was late. I was tired. My father didn't tell me anything. I swear Enough. The single word struck her like a slap. Judge Reyes pointed toward the screen, still showing the frozen image of Kyra's car, inches from the terrified mother. You almost killed 2 innocent people, and when questioned, you mocked them. Kyra's breath stuttered. I didn't know. You did know, Judge Reyes continued. You simply didn't care. Kyra's knees wobbled. A woman in the audience stood, voice trembling with anger. My daughter was the one in that video, she said. She still wakes up crying because she sees your car coming at her in her dreams. Kyra's head jerked toward her. The mother stepped closer. She still asks me, why did that lady hate us? Kyra flinched like she'd been hit. Her voice cracked. I didn't hate you. I wasn't paying attention. But her excuse only made the mother's eyes burn hotter. You didn't care, the mother repeated. That's worse. Kyra had no answer. Her throat tightened. Her vision blurred. For the first time, the truth pressed down on her like a weight she couldn't escape. Judge Reyes tapped his gavel lightly. Miss Halden, he said, every action has a consequence. And yours have finally caught up with you. Kyra's voice was barely a whisper. What are you going to do to me? Judge Reyes didn't flinch, didn't soften, didn't look away. "I'm going to do what your father never did," he said. "I'm going to hold you accountable." Kyra's heart slammed against her ribs, her breath shook, and for the first time in her life, she truly understood the meaning of fear. Kyra's heartbeat thundered in her ears as Judge Reyes reached for a new folder on his bench. The room held its breath, waiting for the downhill spiral everyone could see coming. Kyra wiped her palms against her dress. They were trembling uncontrollably. Makeup perfect confidence had vanished. The courtroom lights suddenly felt too bright, too exposing. Judge Reyes opened the folder. "Miss Halden," he began, "you have been given opportunities, warnings, leniency, and resources that most people in this room could never dream of." Kyra pressed her lips together, trying to hold herself steady. "But instead of growing from your mistakes," he continued, "you escalated them. You treated the law as if it were a toy, and you treated the people you endangered as if they were invisible." Kyra's lawyer leaned in, voice a faint whisper. "Kyra, if you have any remorse, show it now." She tried to soften her expression, pull tears to her eyes, create sympathy. But nothing came, because for years she had never learned how. Judge Reyes lifted a document. "These are sworn statements from witnesses. Every one of them describes the same behavior, a pattern of entitlement, recklessness, and disrespect." He set them down. A hush spread through the room. Kyra finally spoke, her voice strained. "Judge Reyes, people exaggerate. They're jealous. They don't know me." "Then tell us," he said. "Who are you?" Kyra hesitated. For the first time, she didn't know the answer. The judge didn't wait. "Let me remind you," he said. "Last month, you struck a parked vehicle and fled the scene. Last week, you nearly hit a mother and her child. And today, you walked into my courtroom and attempted to mock the legal system itself." Kyra swallowed hard. Her legs felt weak. Her pride, her charm, her arrogance, none of them were helping her now. A man from the audience stood up next. "That car you hit last month," he said. "It was mine. I was inside it. You drove off like it didn't matter." Kyra turned sharply. "I didn't see." "You looked right at me," he barked. Kyra gasped, because she remembered. She remembered perfectly, but she had assumed he'd never show up. Judge Reyes continued, voice low but firm. "You have endangered lives, ignored laws, lied to officers, and today, you attempted to intimidate this court with your father's reputation." Kyra flinched. A tear actually slipped from her eye, the first crack in her iron image. "Judge, please," she whispered. Judge Reyes stared at her with calm, unwavering authority. "This is not punishment," he said. "This is correction." Kyra shook her head, trembling. Am I going to jail?" The courtroom stiffened. Her lawyer closed his eyes, bracing for impact. Judge Reyes didn't answer immediately. He folded his hands, thinking. Kyra held her breath. The silence felt like a lifetime. Finally, he spoke. "Step forward." Kyra obeyed, barely standing. Judge Reyes looked directly into her eyes, not with anger, but with the kind of honesty no one had ever given her. "You are used to escaping consequences," he said. "But escaping has only created a bigger fall." She blinked tears away. "This court," he continued, "is not here to destroy you, but to rebuild you." Kyra whispered. I don't understand." "You will," he said, "because your sentence will not be about punishment. It will be about transformation." Kyra felt her knees weaken. Her entire world, built on privilege and immunity, was crumbling. And Judge Reyes was about to do something no one had ever dared to do. Force Kyra Halden to grow up. Kyra stood trembling, the courtroom spinning around her like a slow storm. Judge Reyes adjusted his robe, leaned forward, and spoke with a quiet firmness that sliced through the air. "Miss Halden," he said, I am about to deliver your sentence. And I want you to listen carefully, because this will change your life. Kyra's breath hitched. Her father's money couldn't save her. Her last name couldn't shield her. Her arrogance had no power here. Judge Reyes lifted the stamped court order. For your repeated offenses, for your disregard of public safety, and for your behavior in this courtroom today, Kyra's heart hammered so loudly, she could barely hear. You will serve 300 hours of mandatory community rehabilitation, under full court supervision. The audience murmured. Kyra blinked. Community rehabilitation, not jail? She exhaled shakily, relief flooding her, until the judge continued. You will report to a community service center in the underserved Westbridge district. Your assignments will include working with families affected by reckless driving, assisting at homeless shelters, and attending weekly behavioral therapy sessions. Kyra's relief dissolved instantly. What? She whispered, horrified. But Judge Reyes wasn't done. You will also meet directly with the victims involved in your cases, including the mother and child you nearly struck, and the individual whose vehicle you hit. Kyra's knees almost gave out. Face them. Look them in the eyes. Her lawyer touched her arm, but she pulled away, panicked. Judge Reyes continued in that same calm, relentless tone. Additionally, your driver's license is suspended for 1 year. Kyra gasped, louder than she meant to. No, you can't. I need my car. I have. The previous message took her off. Consider this an opportunity to learn responsibility. Kyra's chest tightened. She shook her head, tears spilling now. Please, Judge Reyes, please, I'm not a bad person. I didn't think. That, he said softly, is exactly the problem. The courtroom grew still. Emotion flickered in Kyra's eyes. Fear, frustration, humiliation, and something new. Realization. Judge Reyes leaned back in his seat. This court believes that what you need is not imprisonment, but perspective. Perspective earned through real work, real empathy, and real accountability. Kyra wiped her face with shaking hands. I don't know how to do that, she whispered. For the first time, Judge Reyes replied, You will learn. Silence fell. Heavy, transformative. Kyra wasn't angry anymore. She wasn't smirking. She wasn't mocking. She was just lost. Smaller than the pride she carried, weaker than the walls she built. The judge gave his final order. You will report to the Westbridge Community Center at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. If you fail to appear, or if you violate your service terms in any way, he paused. The next step will be incarceration. Kyra's breath froze. The judge nodded once. This court is adjourned. Bang. The gavel fell. The courtroom erupted. Shocked whispers, murmurs, disbelief. Kyra stood motionless. Everything inside her shattered quietly. Her father wasn't here to save her. The courtroom didn't respect her. The world wasn't bending for her anymore. As the bailiff guided her out, she caught sight of the mother she nearly hurt. The woman didn't glare. She simply whispered, I hope this changes you. For the first time in her life, Kyra didn't have a comeback. She just lowered her head and walked out toward a future she didn't understand yet, but one she could no longer run from. Kyra Halden had seen mansions, yachts, luxury suites, but she had never seen a place like Westbridge Community Center. The next morning, she stepped out of the rideshare car, staring at the faded brick building, cracked sidewalks, and the long line of people waiting for assistance. Mothers holding toddlers, Elderly men leaning on canes. Teenagers carrying heavy boxes of donated food. This wasn't her world. Not even close. The air smelled like damp concrete, old wood, and the faint warmth of fresh bread coming from inside. The morning sun was barely rising, but the center was already alive with noise. People talking, children running, volunteers organizing supplies with practiced speed. Kyra stood frozen at the entrance. Her nails were freshly done, her hair perfectly styled, but her confidence? Shaking. A woman in a bright orange volunteer vest approached her, tall, warm-eyed, with a firm presence Kyra instantly felt. "You must be Kyra Halden," the woman said. Kyra nodded timidly. I'm supposed to check in." The woman smiled gently and extended her hand. "I'm Maria Sanchez. I run this place." Kyra swallowed and shook her hand. Maria's grip wasn't aggressive, but it was strong enough to remind Kyra that this world didn't bend for her name. "First time doing service?" Maria asked kindly. Kyra nodded again. Maria studied her, not with judgment, but with quiet understanding. "Well," she said, "you're not here to be punished. You're here to learn. Let's start with something simple." She led Kyra inside. The community center was buzzing. Shelves of donated cans, a play area for kids, volunteers sorting clothes, a small kitchen with volunteers cooking breakfast. Kyra's eyes widened. She had grown up with nannies, chefs, assistants. Here people were helping out of kindness, not payroll. Maria pointed to a stack of folded sweaters. "Today, you'll be helping sort clothing donations. Think you can handle that?" Kyra nodded quickly. Yes, I can." Maria smiled. "Good. And Kyra." "Yes, here, you don't need perfect makeup or perfect posture. Just a willing heart." Kyra looked away, cheeks warming. She didn't know how to have a willing heart. But she didn't argue. Hours passed, clothes of all sizes, sorting piles, folding, lifting boxes heavier than she expected. Her back ached, her shoulders hurt. Her manicure definitely wasn't surviving. But something strange happened. No one judged her. No one whispered about her. No one cared that she was a millionaire's daughter. They only cared if she helped. A thin teenage boy approached her while she was folding jackets. "Are you new here?" he asked. Kyra nodded. "Yeah, first day." The boy smiled softly. "I'm Liam. I'm here every Saturday." He hesitated, then added, "People here are good. If you need anything, just ask." He walked away, carrying more donations. Kyra watched him. He couldn't have been older than 15, yet he stood straighter than she did, stronger than she felt. She turned back to her stack of jackets, folding slowly, quietly, carefully, as if suddenly the work mattered. Because for the first time, it did. Kyra was exhausted. Maria handed her a plate of food and sat beside her on a bench outside. "You did well today," Maria said. Kyra shrugged tiredly. "I don't think so. I kept messing up, and my arms hurt. And I probably looked terrible." Maria laughed softly. "That's the first honest thing you've said since you arrived." Kyra cracked a small smile. Maria continued, voice gentle. "You know, this center wasn't built by rich people or government officials. It was built by mothers, by families, by people who knew what suffering feels like and promised they wouldn't let others fall the same way." Kyra's eyes lowered, soft. Maria studied her a moment longer. "You've lived in a different world, Kyra. That's not your fault. But growing up means seeing more than yourself." Kyra swallowed. "I don't know how to change," she whispered. "You've already started," Maria replied. "You showed up." Kyra looked up. Maria smiled. Come back tomorrow. We'll teach you the rest. For the first time since she walked into the courthouse, Kyra felt something she hadn't felt in years. A small, uncertain spark of humility. And maybe, just maybe, a chance at becoming someone better. The second day at Westbridge Community Center was different. Kyra didn't arrive late. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't wear designer heels or a smug expression. She came early, wearing simple shoes, hair tied back, hands empty, ready to work. Maria noticed immediately. Good morning, Kyra, she said warmly. Kyra nodded. Good morning. What do you need me to do today? No attitude. No entitlement. Just willingness. Maria smiled and handed her a clipboard. Come on, you're helping in the kitchen today. Inside the kitchen, Kyra was greeted with steam, warmth, and the rich smell of soup boiling in giant pots. Volunteers moved rhythmically, chopping vegetables, stirring, plating meals. A middle-aged man with gray streaks in his beard turned to her. You're the new one, right? Grab an apron. We're short on hands. Kyra slipped it on without hesitation. Her first task? Washing vegetables. Simple, but humbling. As she scrubbed potatoes, she listened to the chatter around her. A grandmother talking about raising her grandkids alone. A woman newly divorced and starting from zero. A man who lost his job but volunteered daily because helping keeps my mind alive. Every story carried weight. Pain, strength, humanity Kyra had never seen. No one here bragged. No one pretended. No one cared about appearances. They only cared about each other. Kyra kept her head down, washing, cutting, listening, and for once, she didn't feel superior. She felt human. The real turning point came before noon. Maria called her over. There's someone I want you to meet. Kyra followed her to a small playroom where kids sat drawing and playing with second-hand toys. And there, sitting quietly, coloring alone, was the little girl Kyra had almost hit. The same girl from the video. Kyra froze. Maria whispered, her name is Emma. Kyra's voice cracked. She's okay? She's healing, Maria said, but she still jumps at loud noises. And she's still scared of cars. Guilt slammed into Kyra like a physical force. Her throat tightened. Her eyes burned. For once, the girl didn't look at Kyra like she was a monster. She just looked curious, innocent, small. Maria knelt down. Emma, sweetheart, this is Kyra. Emma tilted her head. Hi. Kyra sank to her knees, fighting tears. Hi, she whispered. Want a color? Emma asked, offering her a broken crayon. Kyra took it with shaking hands, and it broke her. Not because of the crayon, but because this child, the one she endangered, was showing her more kindness than she had ever shown anyone. Kyra began to cry silently, wiping her cheeks quickly so Emma wouldn't see. She whispered, I'm so sorry. Emma didn't understand, but she smiled anyway. And somehow that smile hurt more than any punishment ever could. Over the next week, something unbelievable happened. Kyra changed. Not because she was forced to, not because it was required, but because she wanted to. She arrived early every day, helped carry boxes she once would have, complained about, served food with care, listened to stories that humbled her, apologized sincerely to the mother she had hurt, not out of fear, but remorse. She even gave Emma her old art supplies, gently, respectfully, without fanfare. And Maria watched her transform the way a gardener watches a wilted plant slowly regain life. You're growing, Maria said one evening. And that's the rarest kind of courage. End quote. Kyra swallowed. Voice soft, I didn't know life could feel like this. Real, Maria asked. Kyra nodded. Real, honest, human, end quote. 300 hours passed quicker than she expected. On her final day, the entire community center gathered in the main hall. Volunteers clapped. Children cheered. And Emma ran up to hug her, a small paper drawing clutched in her hand. It's you, Emma said proudly. I made you look happy. Kyra stared at the drawing, two stick figures holding hands, both smiling, and her eyes welled up again. Maria placed a hand on Kyra's shoulder. You didn't just complete your service, she said. You earned respect. Kyra wiped her tears. Thank you for not giving up on me. Maria smiled softly. You did the hardest part. You changed yourself. When Kyra walked back into Judge Reyes' courtroom for the final review, she didn't walk like a princess. She walked like a person. Quiet, humbled, stronger. Judge Reyes looked up, surprised by her demeanor. You look different, he said. Kyra replied, I feel different. He nodded. Westbridge has that effect on people. Kyra took a breath. I wanted to say thank you for seeing something in me that I didn't see. Judge Reyes paused, studying her. Then his stern expression softened ever so slightly. Miss Halden, redemption is never given. It is earned. And you earned yours. Kyra bowed her head, tears slipping silently. This time, tears she wasn't ashamed of. Judge Reyes closed her file. All charges dismissed. Case closed. Kyra exhaled, deeply, gratefully. As she walked out of the courtroom, sunlight hit her face. And for the first time in her life, it felt warm, not blinding. She smiled, a real smile. Because she wasn't the girl who walked into that courtroom anymore. She was someone better, someone growing, someone becoming. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. New emotional stories drop every week, each one filled with truth, transformation, and powerful life lessons. See you in the next episode.